Hey everyone, time for another video, and yeah, I got a list. Okay, well honestly I wanted to do like a little more tribute to Criterion, which is actually my favorite DVD format so far. Yeah, DVD may be going the way of VHS soon. I don't think it's going to be anytime really soon. I think we still have as much love for DVDs as we do with books versus the Kindle, or at least how it's going, because Barnes & Noble still have a lot of little bookstores are still alive. But Criterion is especially special to me because not only do they do like such good jobs with their extras and all that, but their quality of sound and picture are probably some of the best in the world. And I give cited to like things like Night of the Living Dead that recently came out the past 2 years ago. It's easily one of the best versions of that movie that's ever been done. And I also like that Criterion, while some complain, make questionable choices of what films they will include. For the most part, they do a good job at like getting out those films that like aren't readily available anywhere else. So that's a lot special to me. I don't have issue with something like Netflix or Hulu or anything like that, except for the fact that Netflix has a crazy where they have to take off so many movies to put on new other movies, which is just ridiculous. You need to keep what you got on there because somebody's going to want to watch it. But these are the 10 that I do not think have received a Criterion edition yet, but I will be happy to get any of these if they come out. So number 10 goes to Scanner Darkly. Pretty recent film by director Richard Linklater. It's got Keanu Reeves in it, Robert Downey Jr., which it may be my favorite performance for him. Either that or Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. And of course he got on to Iron Man and everything, and yes, no spoilers. But I especially like that this is probably the only Philip K. Dick adaptation that feels like a Philip K. Dick story. It has so many of his like classic themes, but it's also like very low tech in a lot of ways. Something that people don't really remember about Philip K. Dick is that he was as much technology cautious as anything else, and yet he made these technological interesting qualities to his work. Of course, there's the Minority Report, which I do prefer this short story than the Spielberg movie, because the Spielberg movie, while being fantastical in like its concepts, it really dropped the ball midway through the story. But Scanner Darkly almost reads exactly like the book, so it's one of those great, like word for word adaptations that actually does have a lot to say about it. Okay, number 9 goes to the Spielberg road movies. Now, something I actually found interesting about the very first movies that Steven Spielberg made, and I'm going from like his very first short film, Amblin, to the Sugarland Express. Those were all road movies, and essentially the short film was pretty much a love story with drifters on the highway. Duel was pretty much a thriller, cat and mouse thriller on the road. And Sugarland Express was like this epic criminal on the lam love story that was on the road. So like I think all of those are like particularly special of where they could combine them all into like a collection. Also would love to hear more about interviews from this. I think the Duel DVD that came out, apart from all these three, I don't know if Amblin's been out on DVD yet, had like the best extras, but I really think all three of these deserve like a good send-off on their own, because really Spielberg started out just loving movies, and you can tell that from his work. So I think that'd be a cool Criterion project to get with him. Number 8, Lost in La Mancha. One of my favorite documentaries on how a film can get screwed up. So many people say that making films is hard work. And this film shows you how bad things can happen to a movie that really wasn't all that expensive, wasn't all that technologically problematic. I love the ideas that Terry Gilliam was going to do so many of these effects real time, almost like Baron Munchausen that he did, which isn't a great movie, but technologically it is so imaginative of like what they could use with like just cardboard. So I thought that was very cool. And since he has finally come out with The Man Who Killed Don Quixote, I think that would be like a great companion piece, just to see the history from Lost in La Mancha to this movie that has just recently come out. So I think that would be a great retrospective to use for that movie. Number 6 goes to Twice Upon a Time. You have to be a real hardcore film fan to know about this movie. This was an animated movie that George Lucas produced, I think right after or right before, right in the middle of the Star Wars trilogy, the original. It feels very South Park because this was made with paper cutout kind of characters. It's a very unique animated movie that I don't think has really. I think there's been a Laserdisc of it, but to get a DVD of it, I think you have to go through Warner's archive collection kind of thing, and it would just be great if they could just get this little-known movie and just like really spend so much time like going into retrospectives, find out how this process was, excuse me, and all this. I think that would just be very cool. I've skipped one. I will go back to number 7. The Plague Dogs. I know that Watership Down is on Criterion. I actually just ordered it recently. But I think the follow-up, which is not only the same director, same animation team, but it's also based on another book by Richard Adams, I think it's so much better a movie, but it's so little known apart from animation fans. But I love that it's like these 2 dogs pretty much escape from this animal experimentation laboratory. It goes through like the rights and wrongs of this system, but it also like shows how these dogs are pretty much psychologically damaged now. They are not only dogs on the lam, they are really struggling with like finding out where they need to be, what they need to do, what they have to do, and what they can do. It's just as dark as Watership Down. I would almost say almost more intense, just because it comes out of nowhere, where like a Watership Down kind of like just drools in the violence. It just wants to grip you into it. But Plague Dogs, such an underrated movie. Most copies I've seen on Amazon go over $80, so that's insane. Truly insane. This needs to be like recommended for anybody. Number 5 goes to Grizzly Man, one of the first Werner Herzog movies I've ever seen. It's also like one of those great movies where you think it's going to be another nature film of man goes into the wild to find himself. What I especially love about the story of Timothy Treadwell is that this was a psychological drama that was just fueled by like a passion for nature, and I kind of love that aspect of it. So many people have said that there was going to be like a live-action fictional remake with Owen Wilson as Timothy Treadwell. That probably would have worked great. That probably would have been his best performance, but it's just so natural because all of this was done with Timothy's own video that he always filmed himself going into the wild. And it's just a fascinating guy. You see this guy that is so in love with nature, but he is literally losing his mind. I can see like signs of OCD and everything else that's going on, the way he talks. And he's almost like the ultimate man-child, where like he needs to be held in, and it's the saddest part of the story is that it's inevitable what happened to him. So like it's just a truly sad movie. Watch it regardless if Criterion ever gets it. Number 4 goes to Bride of Frankenstein. Classic Universal movie. Classic horror movie. Classic in every way. But I would love to see like so much more done with like the picture quality. It looks good on like the Universal DVDs that are available now, but I would love to see if this quality could be improved. I would love to see if there's more interviews and retrospectives you could do with it and all that. Just a great movie, and I would love to see a Criterion of it. Number 3, The Great Race. I have to thank Doug Walker, who does the Nostalgia Critic. He actually influenced me to check this movie out. Yeah, I think it was like his number 2 favorite comedy of all time. I don't know where it ranked on like his favorite films, but I did eventually check it out. I loved it. I thought Jack Lemmon and Peter Falk literally disappear in their characters. They're just playing this great Tom and Jerry kind of evil team. They're just hell-bent on like beating this other character. I think Natalie Wood, it may be my favorite underrated female comedy performance. She is hilarious. She's sexy, but I love how she is relentless and how crazy she is. Only problem with that movie is that I think Tony Curtis is kind of a dull character for a lead. So it's a great movie from Billy Wilder that I would love to see get the full Criterion treatment, retrospectives, commentaries, whatever you can. Number 2 goes to David Cronenberg's Crash. I think this is like one of those weird movies that never lets you go. Some people have complained that it's pretty much just a porno or something like that. I'm like, no, this really goes into like a lot of psychological craziness. It's pretty much about these people that have been through like car wrecks and become fixated on them. It's almost kind of like that. What kills you just makes you into who you are. I like that idealism. I have tried to read the book a couple times and it hasn't really worked yet. That I haven't finished yet. I would love to finish it one day. But I love the performances in this movie. I love how dark and how thought-provoking it can get at times. I love Howard Shore's score to this movie. It is probably the best guitar-only riff soundtrack. So I love it. I love that movie. It's dark and everything, but I would actually love to see Criterion get more into this. I would love to hear what Cronenberg's thoughts are years later. This was back in 2000, I think, when this came out. So yeah, another great pick. And my number 1 is also my personal favorite film of all time, The Station Agent. This hooked me onto Peter Dinklage long before Game of Thrones. I love this movie. It feels like the movie that would have focused on my life back in high school. I was very much like a Finn character back in high school. Not obsessed with trains, but obsessed with movies and books and comics. I was just the nerd. I love all 3 of the main performances. So sad, so aggravated that all 3 of them weren't nominated for best Oscars. I think only Patricia Clarkson was, and I think that was one of the only nominations it got, and I am so aggravated that was such a great movie. It deserves so much better, and I would love to see Criterion go in depth for this movie. I would love to see what they could come up with for this movie. So yeah, those are my picks for what I would love to see the I cannot say this word anymore. Criterion Collection to take on, and I would love to get these. I have yet to get on the Criterion channel yet. I've already heard a lot of people complained about the issues with running the films on that and stuff like that. So it may be later on before I decide to pay for it. So that's my thoughts, and thanks for sticking with me, everybody. Bye.